President Biden's Iran policy meets the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Trouble is, the lunacy here could lead to a big war. Hello, I'm Steve Forbes, and this is What's Ahead, where you get the insights you need to better navigate these turbulent times. Incredibly, the Biden administration is re-engaging in talks with Iran in the vain hope of forestalling the murderous mullah's determined march to become a nuclear power. To entice the cruel clerics to negotiate, Washington gave the green light to Iraq to release $2.7 billion owed to Iran for water and electricity imports that had been frozen by U.S. economic sanctions. And what did Washington get for unfreezing that $2.7 billion? Nothing. The U.S. had hoped that at least Iran would release American political prisoners the regime had illegally seized, and that such a deal would lead to new nuclear negotiations. But no surprise, Iran is playing hardball, having repeatedly demanded $7 billion in frozen money from South Korea. From the time they took office, Biden and his team have been trying to resurrect some version of the flawed nuclear agreement with Iran in 2015 that was scuttled by President Trump in 2018. The administration offered the mullahs concession after concession. Biden's giveaways would have led to an even worse deal than the 2015 version. Sensing weakness, the mullahs refused to say yes. Negotiations stopped last summer. But here we go again. U.S. diplomats have trekked several times to Oman to parley indirectly with Iranian officials. The Iranians won't even talk to us directly, but they do it through the Oman government. Oman calls this process, quote, proximity talks, end quote. The Biden administration is hoping that if it eases existing sanctions and releases more money for the mullahs, Iran won't take the next fateful step in making the bomb. To get cash and ease sanctions, the mullahs might promise to slow things down, but Washington has shown no inclination to demand tough inspection procedures to ensure compliance, nor is it demanding that Iran turn over its enriched uranium. What Biden is doing here is that, hoping against hope, somehow Iran will truly back off. It won't. The mullahs believe the survival of their oppressive, terrorist-promoting regime depends on getting the bomb. They look at North Korea, and Ukraine as proof. Would Putin have invaded Ukraine if Ukraine had not given up the nuclear weapons it had on its soil when the Soviet Union collapsed in the 1990s? Israel has made it clear that if Iran takes that next fateful step in making the bomb, it could trigger a military strike. Given the powerful proxy military forces Iran has built up in the Middle East, that would unleash a regional war. Instead of continuing the insanity of its failed efforts, Washington should make clear that if Iran does take that final step in making the bomb, Washington will fully support and indeed assist an Israeli strike. President Biden could say, Putin grossly underestimated our response to his aggression. Don't you make the same mistake. I'm Steve Forbes. Thanks for listening. Do send in your comments and suggestions. I look forward to being with you soon again.